Good day, fellow nerds, and welcome to Attacks of Opportunity. I'm Jenny, your kitchen barbarian. We're not in the kitchen today, kids. We are in the D&D room, and I will totally give you a tour of that sometime. However, right now, the table is covered in Legos, and we've got some spare boxes and junk around because we haven't been able to use it in over a year. But as soon as we clean it up and get it organized, tours in the works, I promise. But today, we're here because I'm going to try something a little different. Back in December or so, I was on my way to work and I thought to myself, I want to try making dice. I don't have any experience with resin. I don't have any experience with any kind of this type of craft. But I thought to myself, it sounded like fun and I could make dice for myself and my friends. And even though we can't use them now, we hopefully will be able to use them someday. So I thought it might be a neat thing to kind of keep me occupied with the pandemic and all. But then in January, we ended up rescuing a puppy. Her name is Pickles Ahsoka Sprunk. Aww, she's super cute. Otherwise known as Pickle Pants or Snips or the Hound from Hell. Depends on the day. But so she takes up a lot of our free time. So for the last 3.5 months or so, that's where most of that has gone. But we do have kind of a schedule worked out and she's getting a little older. So I thought maybe it'd be time to give this a try. And also, why not show you guys what's going on? A little full disclosure here though, gang. Last week, I did this already for the first time. I went ahead and tried my hand at this. I videoed it. I had everything ready to go for John to edit for me. And due to my anti-tech aura, which I'm kind of semi-famous for in our circle, it's gone. So I want to show you my attempt last week and then also maybe discuss the things that I learned from it and hopefully what I can do to make it better. But just to let you kind of see what's going on, the dice actually came out pretty clean. I'm pretty happy about. I experimented with the lettering, or numbering in this case, obviously. And all the lines came out nice. I was really, really happy with that, except for the fill side. Every single die on the fill side has a giant divot in it. So I know for sure that there just was not enough resin on the fill side. So that's what I'm hoping to correct today by using a couple of different methods that I thought of between last week and this week. One involves just keeping the tops on the die and filling it all with an eyedropper to see how that works. One is filling them halfway, letting them set a little bit, and then filling them in the rest of the way. And the other, I can't remember what the other one was, but hopefully I'll remember that soon, and then we'll try them all out. I did put a little wildflowers in here, which was sort of spur of the moment, but due to the color of the dye and the fact that I also added in like a pearlescent powder, they just weren't able to be seen. It made the dye opaque, which they're still pretty cool. But I do have a little skull bead that I have in one of the dye, and I'm going to keep that clear so we can see how that turns out. All right, so we are going to pour the resin. Now there are two parts. There's the resin itself, and then there's the hardener. So they have to be poured into separate cups and then both poured in equal parts into a third cup. And then there's magic or chemistry, whichever you prefer. And then once we have it in here, I'm going to use the clear resin to pour into our four-sided, which has the little skull bead in it. We're going to keep it clear. And then I'm going to add a little dye for fun, favorite color, purple. We're going to put that in there and hopefully get a nice color. And then we will fill the rest of the dye in different, like I said, different methods. I'm going to try filling one up all the way with an eye drop, and I'm going to try half and half and see if that helps better. One of my biggest problems last week was getting the tops back on. They're terrible. They're so hard to get back on. So I had filled them up all the way and then attempted to squish the tops back on. and then try and fill the rest in with an eyedropper. It was a mess. I had resin all over the place, and as you can see, again, the fill side. So, but the rest came out great, but the fill side not so much. So let's get mixing. So the good news is last week I didn't blow anything up, which is a real plus for me. So we're gonna go ahead and add the resin. I'm only gonna make a little bit. I don't think I'm gonna fill all the dice this time. Let's just make a couple and see how it goes. All right, so basically you really want to stir the ever-loving crap out of this. You want to make sure that you don't have a lot of bubbles or streaks, because those can show up in the finished product. So I'm going to stir and stir and stir and stir and stir and stir and stir some more. So we'll be back in a few seconds. Okay, so I've got my eyedropper here. We've got the mixed resin, and we're going to go ahead and just solely use the eyedropper to fill our four-sided that has this little skull bead in it. Trying to fill it slowly. I don't know if that will help with air bubbles or any issues like that, but why not give it a go here? It looks like it's filling up. We're getting there. We're about 3/4 of the way. Our little skull guy is getting covered. All right, I'm going to finish this one up until I can see that it's all filled, and then I'm going to go ahead and we'll add some color to the resin and we'll fill up a couple more dice. So I'm reasonably sure that the four-sided with the skull in it is full. I've tapped it kind of to have it settle a little bit. Fill it again, tapped it again. I've wiped the top off to see if, make sure that there's a little bit coming up out of the hole in the top. I think it's full. So I'm going to set this one aside for now, because that was my problem last week. I think I just jumped the gun, and I thought since resin was coming out the top, it must be full. But, I didn't really take into consideration air bubbles or settling or anything like that. So again, I have zero experience with it other than just watching maybe 2 YouTube videos. I just thought, well, you can just dump the resin in there and then it's all good. But it does take a little finesse, which I probably still don't have. I mean, this is the second time I'm trying it. So, I'm hoping that a couple of attempts and I'll be able to get usable dice out of this. For instance, the one with the skull in it, I really have no idea if it'll ever be usable, because if it's not balanced, you wouldn't be able to roll them in a game because they just wouldn't be fair. So after those are done, I'll try, I think there's a saltwater test that you can use in order to see if a die is balanced, but you have to roll it like 9 million times. They could just be show dice that you say, hey, Jenny made these for me, aren't they awesome? And you put them on a shelf somewhere. But the colored ones, those could, the straight colored ones with nothing inside, those could be used hopefully someday, as long as I get the fill side correct. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to add some purple dye here. Let's start with 3 drops and see what that looks like. This is sort of a deep purple. I got a box with 16 colors. So there's also more of a violet type color, and that's the color that I used on the first set. This is definitely a little darker, which I do like a lot. I think I'm gonna add 1 more drop. I mean, I have all kinds of big ideas, layering colors and adding glitter and all kinds of stuff. I really hope it works out, because I have so many ideas about what I want to do with them that I really, really just want to try all of them. but I'm also afraid that I'm just not going to be any good at it and I won't be able to do anything that I want to do. So I'm going to keep stirring here for a few seconds and then we will start pouring the next dye. So funny story, while I was recording the last bit of the video, the four-sided tipped over while I wasn't looking and some of the resin did escape. So I don't know that the fill side on the four-sided will work out properly. But why would it, right? It's just an experiment. That's fine. We'll see if I overfilled it enough that it compensated for whatever spilled out. So that's okay. What we've got here is our purple colored resin, and we're adding it to the 12-sided die. Very, very, very slowly. Takes longer than you think to fill up one of these tiny little die molds with an eyedropper. So I'm going to keep doing that, which will probably take a few more minutes. And once I get to the top, we'll check back in. And I think I'm going to do the same technique that I did for the four-sided. I'll get it as full as I can. I'll tap, I'll fill, I'll tap, I'll fill, and hopefully overfill it just enough that we get it all completely full so that that one side will look just like all the other sides and not come out with that big divot like we did for our first attempt. Now on the four-sided, this was a bit harder to see, but on the 12 I can see that while it looks full, I can actually see the air bubble on top where there is no resin. So I did tap it down. I'm going to try and put some more resin in there. And so you get kind of panicked because you see if the top fills and you're like, okay, well, it must be all the way full. Then it settles down some more. All right, so that looks like it's probably over full, which is fine. I'm going to give it a few taps. I'm not entirely sure how to get all the air out yet, except for tapping it. People that do this, and one video I happened to catch on YouTube was somebody had a pressure cooker or something, and it looked like they did this all the time. So their dice came out, you know, pretty perfect because they were able to get out all the air pretty effectively, but I am probably not going to invest that heavily in it. I've already probably got at least $100, maybe $150 invested in it. I don't know that I'm going to get any more committed than that. And that's plenty for a craft that you're not sure you're going to be any good at or is going to be any kind of use at all. So this is kind of what I was talking about earlier. The tops of this particular mold are such a pain to get on and off. The first time I tried it, like I said, it was all over the place because they just look so easy. They look like they're going to snap in place, and it's not that easy at all. So it looks like maybe the one side of this has come up slightly. I don't know if that'll affect the finished product, but I guess we'll find out. I'm going to go ahead and set that aside. We'll do one more for the heck of it. We'll do our trusty D20. And then what basically we'll do after that is I'll let them sit. It takes about 10 hours, according to the directions, to really sit properly. And then you can take them out of the molds. And then they will fully cure in about 24 to 48 hours. So that's what I did with this first set. I actually left them in there longer because 10 hours was the middle of the night. So I let them go to the next day before I sort of unveiled them. That's what I'm going to do here because it's already kind of late. So I'll go ahead, fill this one, and then we'll come back tomorrow and we'll unwrap them and see what we've got. Discovered when I was filling the 20-sided die is that I filled the resin just past, definitely past the fill line and then into the lid itself. And then I pressed it just ever so gently, and I guess I'm burping it. That's the only word I can really come up with, because a little air bubble escapes, and then I'm able to tip the dye so more resin sort of falls in the hole, and then I just kind of burp it gently again to get the air out. Hopefully I've done that enough to get all the air out and let all the resin in. We're gonna go ahead and let these guys sit. 10 hours is a full cast where you can actually take the resin out of the molds, and then they fully cure within 24 to 48 hours. So when I did this last week, I had to wait till the next day to take them out of the molds, just because by the time 10 hours went by, it was in the middle of the night. So it's going to be the same case here. So what I'm going to do is I'll come back tomorrow and peel what we've got here out of the molds and see what they look like. Hopefully some of the problems that I had the first time got solved, but I do have a couple of other problems brewing that I want to share with you guys. So one of my biggest problems that I've been thinking about is, like, for instance, here is the skull bead up close. Pretty badass. That's in our four-sided, which I didn't really have any trouble with. The rest of the dice are definitely going to be an issue. So how do you solve the issue of putting something solid and weighty in a die without unbalancing it, basically? So a couple of ideas I had were to fill the die halfway with resin, place the bead in there, give it some time to cast a little bit to cure, and then go ahead and fill the die the rest of the way and see if that works to sort of keep the balance. My other idea was to put the bead in, fill the die the entire way, and then sort of cover the fill hole with tape or something, and then sort of slowly turn it every once in a while, just like a rotation, and really babysit them hard. I don't know. I'm not sure what the answer is yet. I'll probably try both methods and see if either of them works out okay. Because I really want to put stuff in the dice. I've got, again, like I said, I got lots of ideas and they all sound really cool. It's just a matter of seeing if they'll actually work in real life. Okay, well, it's the next day and I'm excited to see how everything turned out. I think we're gonna unveil the D4 first because that has the little skull bead in it, and I'm dying to see how that turned out. All right, here we go. All right, well, a couple things. That damn fill side did not work. Again, it's very discouraging. But our little galleon there is pretty cool. Looks pretty happy living in his pyramid of resin. Yeah, the fill side, this time it didn't even show up with a number. So that's kind of a fail, but kind of a success. We can definitely put little beads and baubles in there. We just have to figure out a way. So these are the ones that are just straight up color. There's nothing inside. And these were definitely easier to fill, the 12 and the 20. So let's peel these off. Yeah, this is gonna be another disappointment. I can tell already that fill side is not happening. But again, the color, well, first of all, the color just turned out so pretty. It looks like a ring pop. Looks like a piece of candy. It's so clear and pretty. Fill side, fail. But the rest of the sides came out perfect. So clearly, it might be a combination of just user error and inexperience with the nature of these molds. I'm gonna, why not be a glutton for punishment and take a look at our D20 here. Come on, little guy, you can do it. Yep, same problem. But again, it's beautiful. The color is great. The lines are crisp and clean. Fill side fail. A couple of other things that I tried after I finished filming last night were filling up this D6 halfway with the purple resin, and I plopped a little skull die in there just to see what would happen. I ended up not having enough resin to fill it the rest of the way, and I didn't feel like making any more just for this. But I think this might be a method that could work. He didn't sink too far down into the resin. Here he is. And he looks pretty cool sitting in there, so that could be an option. The other thing I did try was I plopped a bead in there and then filled it with resin. But you could see, I thought maybe this would be the one I would rotate and see if I could sort of get him to stay center and keep the die balanced. But I could tell after the first few minutes, the resin is just too thick. So I put it in there, it sunk to the bottom, it stayed on the bottom, which is now the top. So this would not be a balanced die. And same problem that we've been having all along. So all that tough talk yesterday about not investing any more money into this hobby and just seeing what I could do with the tools that I already had, it was probably just tough talk, because I thought to myself, there's got to be a better way. How about a mold that's just flat and you pour all the resin in that you want, you add whatever you want, and then they're all together, and then it has like a flat surface, and you just put the top on there, they're all in there together, and then you could finish off the fills with a small hole. And it turns out I didn't invent that, somebody else already did. There's a bunch of them on Etsy. I am probably going to spend too much money on one of those, because I can't emphasize enough how much I want to make my own dice and how much I want to put stuff in it and make them successful. And we clearly cannot roll these the way that this particular mold is making them turn out. So these were relatively inexpensive. The reviews seem fine. They were about 25 bucks for the set of 7. What they're called is slab molds. They're all 7 die together. It's about 100 bucks, which is pretty pricey. But if they turn out as nice as they look, and the reviews are very, very positive, and there's thousands of good reviews, then it might be just what we're looking for. A couple of things I did learn. Resin is super, super sticky. They recommend you wear gloves, but to me, the gloves made it very slippery, and you just lose that tactile feel. So I didn't wear gloves, but all last night and even right now, my fingers feel like I've just wiped my hands down a tree full of sap, and they're super sticky. They stuck to everything last night, my hair, my pants, everything. So, but it comes off in a little bit. I scrubbed them a few times with regular soap, and then I tried like another soap that we had in the house, and eventually they came clean and they stopped being sticky. But I'm back to that right now. I just want to point out the differences in color. If we remember, this is more of a jewel tone, more of a true purple. Again, it looks like candy. It looks like you could just pop it right in your mouth. No recommend, P.S. This is the more lighter shade of purple. This is with the pearlescent powder inside. So that came out a lot lighter, but still pretty. Here they are together. And even though they're not balanced, and even though I'll never be able to use them in a real game, how can you make dice and not roll them? So I'll give them a couple of test rolls, just for fun. Not bad. Ooh, that would have been a nat 1. That would have been bad, but you can't see it, so it doesn't count. If you roll a nat 1 and it doesn't show up on the die, does the DM know? So while today wasn't maybe a complete success, I think we did learn some things, maybe some things that I could apply to the next time I try. If I do get that slab mold, I'll be sure to make another video, maybe go through that, and we can check out the results together. Hopefully soon we'll be able to play in person. Maybe this summer. We're vaxxed, our friends are either already there or getting there, so it'd be really great to have everybody back in the house, back in the D&D room, and rolling those 20s hopefully soon. So thanks for sticking around with me. I hope everybody had a good time. Stay tuned because your kitchen barbarian will hopefully be back in the kitchen for a recipe or two from our Heroes Feast cookbook. Don't want to forget about that. And then I've been thinking about maybe doing up a cosplay for our Ren Fair in the late summer. I don't want to make any promises because, first of all, I got to get my mom's permission because I don't know how to sew. We made an awesome Xena cosplay that I've worn to Dragon Con a couple of times and our local Ren Fair many times, and it's always a big hit. My mom's a sewer. The only thing I know about sewing machines is pedal, go. That's it. So we kind of collaborate on the designs, and then she's the sewer. I'm more of the painter, armor, fashioner. That's kind of my thing. So again, I don't want to make any promises, but I am kind of excited to start thinking about doing it. So hopefully I'll have a little news on that soon. But again, thanks for tuning in to Attacks of Opportunity. Hit the like and subscribe button, and we'll see you next time.